And welcome to episode 23 of the Graff Golf Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fairholm. This is the end of season one for our podcast, and we are celebrating today with a holiday medley episode featuring some of our favorite moments from the season. And we figured this is a good moment to stop and reflect, given that we've seen our audience grow over the last year. And also, for those who are new to the podcast, this is actually a perfect introduction to what we are all about here, because you will hear a handful of snippets from different episodes and really get a feel for what type of conversations we have, which includes a lot of talk about how we are launching a smart golf ball and analytics platform, but also includes a lot of talk about the game itself and reimagining what golf can look like. Before we get into those best of moments for season one, I want to introduce a colleague of mine at Graff to help reflect on this year of the podcast and some of our favorite moments. You'll recognize him from episode 12 of the pod. He is the Chief Design Officer of Graff and the man behind our marketing efforts, Rowen Frazer. Rowen, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me again. Excited to kind of recap season one.
I wanted to open this up talking about the podcast in general. On my end, it has been so much fun to produce these episodes. I've had an absolute blast doing it. But from your end, listening to these episodes and also being a part of one, the importance of the podcast and just in terms of what the podcast has provided us here at Graff, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's fair to say that when we started thinking about doing this, we really had no expectations and very limited ideas for what it could be. We just knew that we knew what Graff was and what we were trying to do. And as long as whatever we did with the pod stayed in line with that, we sort of were happy to try, interviewing different people, having different people try their hand at it. Of course, like many other things, we thought, high failure rate, but if it works out, hey, why not? And I think we kind of lucked out in finding you. I believe Aaron found you initially, started corresponding with you. And then, I think once the ball got rolling, we kind of thought, well, this is actually maybe something. Like we kind of have a little, like something to hang our hat on here. And of course the growth out of the gate wasn't monumental, but we have had some jumps over this past season, if we're calling it that. And I think that now the growth is very steady and encouraging. So long story short, it worked out probably a lot better than we thought it might.
So this is episode 23, this medley episode. The 22 episodes prior to that, we've had a lot of really fun moments. I think, my favorite moments of this season have been the behind the ball episodes featuring, some of the employees of Graff. I think those have just, our audience has really gravitated towards those. And I've really enjoyed kind of learning more of the backstory of Graff, just getting to know all of you guys a lot better. The behind the ball series, I think that's kind of to me, that's like the core of the podcast, right? It's getting to know all these different employees of Graff and getting to know their backstory. I think of someone like Parker, hearing about him go through the Air Force and Tesla. I mean, that's really kind of the cool part of the podcast to me.
Completely agree. And I think we all, that was honestly the first idea we had with the podcast that I think we all felt pretty confident would do well out of the gate, because there were definitely some, trial and error type of forays that we did with the club, generally speaking. But I think there's definitely as we have kind of like a unique vision for the company, there's also a sort of common thread that weaves through all the people that work here. And it's kind of interesting. Parker is definitely right in there. He might kind of epitomize who we are, how we work, what we stand for. I mean, it's just kind of it's a startup. It's a bit of an always on mentality, and it's people get into it, and if you are into it, it's quite fun and scrappy that way. And I think that's why that series caught the most traction for the pod, because I think beyond golf, people are interested in those kinds of things. I think everyone's got, ideas, obviously. A percentage of those people have business ideas, and a percentage of those people have probably thought about starting a company at some point. And of course, it's not easy. Like nothing really is when it comes to business, and there's a lot of competition, and there's technological hurdles to overcome. And I think behind the ball gives people a peek into that side of the company. And there's a little bit of trepidation there. There's, we can't literally share everything for proprietary reasons, but we're able to share quite a bit. And I think that's, even if it's just backgrounds on people that work at Graff now, that's interesting from the standpoint of the fact that we were 4 just a couple of years ago, and a year prior to that, it was 3. And so just the fact that there are people that work here now and getting their backgrounds, I think alone is interesting. And then what they're specifically working on and how it factors into what we're building, I think all the more interesting.
And I did have to mention, I went back through the episodes, and I believe yours was the longest out of all of the episodes. So I think that does say something about we have some chemistry here with talking about golf. I think we went on a little bit longer than we thought we would when we recorded that episode, but that was a lot of fun. How about some other moments throughout the season that you really enjoyed? I like the Bryson DeChambeau episode because he's such a fascinating character, but there were some other kind of golf centric ones where we were kind of being fans of the game, which I think is an important thing for any golf company, to remain passionate and to remain fans of the game.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised mine ran the longest. I definitely am the loudest and longest winded at this company, probably by a long shot. I don't think anybody would disagree with you. There's the Bryson episode was great. The rapport that you guys have in the discussion, and the statistics and where to stop analyzing, and Bryson's just added so many nice things, annoying things, competitive things, athletic things to the game, that he's spawned probably dozens and dozens of podcast episodes. So that one, the one that sticks out to me actually is the Rory episode, because I think it flew under the radar a little bit, because Rory, I guess to some people, is maybe kind of old news. Bryson kind of represents, or maybe Morikawa, the new guard, and let's see what those guys are up to. Rory had his day in the sun. I don't really know, but I think that the take, if you want to call it a hot take, I thought it was a pretty even-keeled take, but if you want to call it a hot take, saying that Rory plays better in regular events than he does in majors, I think the idea there is that that is kind of what we're doing at Graff. We're looking at the number, like we're allowing people to see the numbers for the first time in many ways. And I think when you think about somebody like Rory, it's easy to think, well, one of the best drivers of the golf ball, won majors before. He's had some incredible tournaments, some incredible showings. But the reality is, people, they know very limited statistics about what players do numbers-wise when they're watching it on television. You're seeing their numbers off the tee box. And again, with TrackMan off the tee box, Rory is one of the most impressive players. No argument there. But the reality is, when you start to really dig, his performance drops significantly, particularly in short game, when he's playing in majors. And it's gotten worse over the years. And I think this is sort of the new trend in golf now, and Bryson's appropriate for this convo as well. Some people are seeing numbers for the first time, their own numbers, more finite numbers of pros that they hadn't had access to before. This whole thing we're doing here at Graff is about access to analytics, and that goes with how you see the game of golf being played at the professional and amateur level, and that goes to how you see it being played in your backyard, and how your game is developing. So it all kind of ties together. And I think that the Rory episode kind of epitomized that nicely.
That's very well said. I wanted to end here looking forward to the second season of the podcast and some of the exciting plans that we have on tap. Some of the things that really make me excited are, the opportunity to talk to a club rep about how they deal with PGA Tour professionals and how they apply analytics to that person's game. I think there are a lot of, there's a high ceiling for what we can accomplish and what we can explore in analytics, because we haven't quite really got there to that point where we've really been able to explore it like some other people have. But I think we have that opportunity coming up now. What are you excited for, kind of looking forward to the second season?
Well, I think just as a start, I think that's a fantastic idea. I see this product and this methodology that we're representing having huge reach into the world of professional golf instruction. I think that this is it's a no-brainer for clubs that can't afford a TrackMan or don't necessarily want a TrackMan, don't want to purchase multiple launch monitors. Maybe they have their reasons. Who knows? It's one more option. It's a more accessible option. It's a more affordable option. It's a smaller option if that plays. I think that's a big one. I think that probably what I'm most excited for season 2. I think season 1 was what it had to be, and what I mean by that, and I don't mean that as a negative at all. I mean that within our means we accomplished all we probably could have in the topics that we covered for season 1. And that's because we had to branch outside of our company, saving the Behind the Ball series quite a bit, because so many things with what we were developing here were either in limbo or pending some kind of approval or patent pending in some areas, things that we just could not discuss, could not show. 2022 is going to be completely different. It's going to be so different in that we're going to launch, for one thing. That's going to change everything in terms of the conversations that people have about us, that we have about ourselves. But we're going to be able to show more and therefore discuss more. We're also going to learn things as we start to put the tech into use, and as other people and pros and collaborators and instructors, course pros start to put the product into use and come to us and say like, hey, I want to do this, But those are the things that I'm excited for, because people are going to have ideas for how they want to apply this tech. It's not just about our ideas. Some people are going to come to us with partnership ideas, and we're going to be talking about them on the pod. I mean, this is more of a pipe dream kind of idea, but what if a pro gets their hands on this next year and takes a liking to it? What if they want to talk to Sean Fairholm? What if they want to pick your brain? Things like that. I mean, I just generally feel that 2022 is going to involve so much more of the product itself being shown, experienced, used, developed, expanded, that we're going to have a lot more to cover on the pod in the way of the actual physical product and platform. So that's probably what's, I have to always kind of tell myself to be patient, but I'm in honesty, I'm kind of chomping at the bit for when we can start sharing that stuff and talking about it.
Absolutely. And for any tour pros out there, you have a standing invitation to the Graff Golf podcast whenever you would like it. You're absolutely welcome to come on and discuss your own game and the product as well. So I would absolutely be looking forward to that. Rowen, thank you so much for hopping on here for a few minutes. Really looking forward to what we have in store here for season 2.
Absolutely, me as well. So thanks for having me on again, Sean. Always a pleasure.